Good day, everybody, and thanks for tuning in again on another recording on modern endpoint management with Citrix and mobile. And this particular session or recording, we're gonna have a look at a question I got from a partner and a customer saying to me, "Hey, Jeroen, it's all nice that we all do that modern endpoint management, and we have a few hundred XenMobile managed Windows 10 endpoints, but what if those customers or those users come back to the offices and they need to print their documents?" In this particular situation, the customer had several locations, but within those locations they had several storages where people can randomly work. So there are no fixed workplaces, but each storage had its own printers. So it's like, for the end user, a terrible user experience when they have to sit down, type in // printer server name, then got popped up with an authentication screen, fill in their SAM account name or the UPN, and sometimes they even don't know what type of authentication is used, and then select the printer, and then next time when they're on another location they have to do all that stuff again. So they asked, is there a different way? And then I said, well, let me have a look at the MDM APIs that Microsoft provides on Windows 10, and there is a new API that is the hybrid cloud print API that's been in the creators update 1703, and in that scenario you can print from an Azure AD joint device with XenMobile to an on-premise printing infrastructure. You need to do some adjustments, but there are two options. You can do it with pre-authentication, so the authentication is upfront with Kerberos constraint delegation, or you can do pass-through authentication. So from a security perspective, I thought we'll start with pre-authentication, but I couldn't get it to work, and after some research, even some people at Microsoft couldn't get it to work. And they said, well, for demo purposes or test purposes, look at pass-through authentication. So that's what I did, and that works great. So from that point of view, what are the requirements you need to have there? And those requirements are, from a Citrix perspective, quite easy, right? You need the XenMobile service subscription, you need the cloud connector in place, you need the terms and conditions in XenMobile in place, because if you do a Win 10 enrollment on Azure AD, you need to have the terms and conditions configured, otherwise the enrollment doesn't complete. You need to have Active Directory groups in place, so you can make a nice dividance between which users can and cannot have specific functionality. So from a Microsoft perspective, you need Azure Active Directory Premium subscription. You need, of course, a Windows Server running Active Directory. You need a Windows 2016 server domain joint that is running as a print server. You need the Azure AD Connect app running, so that the synchronization between Azure AD and your on-prem Active Directory is working fine. So this one is not necessary. We don't need company branded. That's for the other recordings. You need to have an Azure Application Proxy connector on a separate domain joint machine, and I will show you that how I've done that and where it is. You need a public facing domain name, so that the proxy application can be addressable from your Windows endpoint that are connected to the internet or in your internal domain. Of course, you need a Windows 10 endpoint with internet connectivity, and the endpoints need to have Windows 10 as Professional Enterprise Education version 1703 or later, right? That's the creators update. And of course you need a printer. Well, in this scenario in my lab, I don't have enough resources, so I put the printer server and the application proxy on one. But that's not the requirements from Microsoft, but it works. Additionally, when you install the hybrid cloud printing PowerShell install tools, you get a test printer, a PDF test printer. So we should be good here. So how does that look quickly from architecture perspective? This is just a picture that I grabbed off the Microsoft site that you can see in the reference links later on. Just replace it with the XenMobile service and marked it with the XML. So XenMobile service published a custom XML for the hybrid cloud print CSP to the bring your own device. You bring your own device or your Windows 10 endpoint is Azure Directory AD joined. By the Azure AD connector, it can do the authentication to your Azure Directory, but also to the Azure Web App that's used for the printing services. And the bring your own device will push your print job through the Azure AD proxy to the print server. The discovery of the printer is also done by Azure AD proxy, so the user gets a new setting in his printer setting where he can now select and search for cloud printers. So let's see how we gonna start. I'm not gonna show you all the configurations because you should have a look at that at the reference links. It's a lot of work to reconfigure that, so I will just show you how it's configured. So step one is of course installing the Azure AD Connect, and as I said, I have not so much resources, so I did it on one server, and as you can see, it should be installed on this machine. It should be in downloads somewhere. Here's the Azure AD application proxy. It's something that you can download from your Azure portal. So go to your Azure portal, log in, go to Azure Active Directory application proxy. You get this screen. When there is no connector available, you don't see your server here. Just download the connector, install it on the machine, and make sure that you enable the application proxy. And there's nothing to configure. It's showing active when it's configured correctly, and of course in a production environment you need to. So that's nothing special. So that's that. On the other hand, of course, your machine needs to become a printer server. So you go to your server manager, and from your server manager you need to add roles and features. You go to your printer server, you select it, and then you do the print and document services, the print server, and it will install all the components that it needs, and that's it. So when that's done, you can, if it's necessary, you can give your printer server a kick, and then you need to install some scripts and some PowerShell modules. So what you need to do there is run from elevated PowerShell command, PowerShell you need to run some commands. So one is find module and minus name / publish cloud printer, and it will look if that's installed. If it's not installed, it will install it. So let me see. I have screenshots of that, so it won't be all. Let me see. Is it this one? Yeah, you see the nice 3 commands you need to do. So first the find, then the install, then the import. And that's it. So the system will download the appropriate information, and it will do that here. So the storage location is there. So you change that directory, and when you have done that, you need to install the hybrid cloud print solution. So that's why you change this directory. There is a whole command line in the document that you can use, or you can just run the /cloud print deploy PowerShell script, and then the PowerShell script will ask you the information it needs. So my Azure tenant is QuickSoftNL. Why is that QuickSoftNL? Because I made my custom domain primary, so that's not something spectacular. Your Azure tenant ID, you can find your Azure tenant ID as mentioned before on the properties of your Azure tenant. You can copy it here, so you need to run that provided in that script. When it says enable IIS web server, select yes, then it will install the IIS services, deploy the enterprise cloud print binaries, and deploy the Mopria discovery service. And it also enables the Windows authentication for the Azure App Proxy, and opens your firewall, updates your registry, restarts IIS, and additionally it will create a virtual printer we're gonna use later on in the test. So it's nice in the tool that it has the test printer there already, so you can do some little PDF printing tests without installing and publishing your public printers first. So that's the part on installing the hybrid cloud print solution. When that's done, then you need to add certificates or create certificates. So you can use self-signed certificate. I have a wildcard certificate. So what I've done, I went to my IIS server, and on the bindings of the default website, it's here, bindings, I added my HTTPS settings and select the certificate here. So the certificates needs to be stored in my computer. So it can create a secure communication between Azure AD and the application proxy and the print server. So that's nice. This is much easier if you have a public certificate, so you don't have to distribute the self-signed certificates later on to the endpoint. So after that, you need to configure the SQLite on the print server. So this solution uses a small SQLite database where it publishes the printers for you. So like a configuration staging type of database where it keeps its settings. Later on, I will show you how you publish that. I have some screenshots for that also, if I'm correct. So how do you install that database? Let me see if I have that here. That screenshot. No, that's creating the database. Here it is. Here it is. So first you register the package. It also gets all the information from repositories. So register the NuGet package and the provider, and make sure it's trusted and enforced. So when that's done, so that is the repository location that is added. Install the package. Here is the SQLite, and it will install all the components it needs. So when that's done, here's a little tricky part, and I had to reinstall IS a couple of times to make it work. And so when this is done, this should create an additional directory on your print server. So this should be on CINET pub www root, and then you should have these two extra directories. This one is created by the Cloud Print, and this one is also created, but then from the SQLite. From the SQLite installation. And you have web config, and in that web config default it shows you some wrong information on the versions used for SQLite. So it should be here. So the version that is downloaded and installed by the PowerShell command is 108, and default it says 106. So make sure that these settings are correct. Let me see if I have a screenshot of that. Update web config. So this is the updated version. I don't have a version of the old one, but it will say 106, and it's described in the documents also. So when that is done, you need to download the SQLite tool. I will provide that in the links, but that's also in the deployment guide from Microsoft, same as the adjustment of the web config. Then you need to copy some information from let me see where he put that. I made a note of it, so let me check that first. Yeah, install the package. Yeah, so the source where he downloaded, so the command line that you have run, so this installer package installs applications or data in a a directory. So it does that on C, program files, package management, and then NuGet, and then packages, and then you have here all this information. So on the Microsoft side, there is let me see if I can get that quickly up here. Maybe that's easy. And then so on the Microsoft side, you see here that after you install and register the package, it needs to be elevated PowerShell. You copy the SQLite DLLs to the MoPre cloud service web app binary folder. So you can do that with this, or do it manually, whatever you want. And then you update the web config. So that's what I did here. So these are copied to inet pop, www root, and MoPre cloud service, and then in their designated directory. So be very precise on this, so that it's done. So after that is done, and you updated the web config, do a IS reset or restart the server. You download the SQLite tools, and when that is done, you extract them to ctemp. Oh, here's the SQLite tools, and this will create the database. So on the elevated command prompt, not a PowerShell, you will run, let me see if I have that command, create database. Here it is. So you go to the specific directory, run this command, make sure that it's complete, and it will create a database in the designated directory. So if you go back to C inet pop www root MoPre cloud service, the database directory will appear, and you will have the database. So make sure that the rights are distributed here. So make sure that required admins that have printing privileges. So I have a service group, service account for printing, that has appropriate rights there. Otherwise you cannot publish the printers later on. And then all the Azure stuff comes up. So for Azure, you need to have the application proxy, right? We already had that. And you need to create 3 apps. So one is an enterprise app, and 2 are web app APIs. So the MoPre discovery proxy, the cloud print proxy, and the print native client. So first we start with the enterprise application, and you go to Azure Active Directory, enterprise application, and then new application, on-premise application, and then you can create your own application here. So I did that, of course. So let's go back to the applications, and the first one we create is the discovery, and that's the enterprise application. That's the Mopria Discovery Proxy. That's this one. Make sure that you choose Passthrough authentication. So that's not a good example. Let's go back to see. So give it a name, enable it for single sign-on, make sure it's pass-through enabled. Yeah. So follow the instructions to the letter there, because you need applications IDs and that kind of stuff configured later on. It's not a 1, 2, 3 configure and done scenario, but when it's up and running, it works fine. Yeah. Also make sure that if these applications are configured and you changed the names that you do CNAMEs in your DNS. Okay, yeah, well, maybe we should just create one fake application, and for example, and then you can run by the other two in the reference links from the Microsoft document, just to get a feeling on how it's done. So let's do add the application, on-premise application, give it a name. So I said we'll call it demo2. The internal URL is your print server, so https :// print server 4.quicksoft.nl. Give it a name. So here you see the external URL. Make sure that you select this one, and then you see on the bottom, you see popping up that you need to create a CNAME in your DNS. You need all these informations later on for your custom XML. Make sure your pre-authentication is pass-through. So make sure that you you have that CNAME in your DNS. Click add, and the application will be created. So next we need to do and assign permissions. So to the group of users that are allowed to use the printing services. So it will pop you to your new created applications. Go to user and groups. Make sure that you can add the user here. So I select the user. Distribution group _ corporate layer, select, assign, and this group has now access. For this one, for the Mopria Discovery Proxy, it's very important that you also add the service account you have for printing. So that should be that one, assign, and done. and click on the application proxy, and you see several steps in the document there that that you need to do. But the most important is that if you use the certificates, you can assign them here. I see mine is already uploaded and done. So you have 2 other applications you need to do like that, and make sure you do it very carefully. Grant correct permissions and make the correct CNAME and use the correct app IDs in all the scenarios that you need later on in the custom XML. So let me see if the problem here also occurs. Oh, I can delete that one. Yep, deleted. So let's open Notepad. It's on my other screen. Let's move it here. Apply. So when you're all done with that and creating the apps, then it's time to create your policies. So the policies are done by custom XML. So you need 6 policies. Well, apparently 5. This is there's one for mobile only. Make sure that you write all this information down up front, because you need to enter them here. So you're going to configure the Cloud Printer Discovery endpoint. That's the first external address. You need to provide the client print OAuth authority. That's your login.microsoft.com plus your Azure tenant ID. That's this one. And then you need your client print auth client ID, and that one is one of the applications you created. So that's this one, and that's the native application you created in Azure AD. So if I go to the native print client and I go to the properties, and here's the application ID, you see it's 9888 at the end. That's this one. Then you have 2 default URLs in the configuration page of Microsoft. You will see that you repoint these in two of the applications. Maybe I can show you that. That's maybe easier. So the native client does not have that. Let me show the enterprise cloud print properties. Where is it? It's a different view. App registration. All apps. It can get sometimes a little bit confusing on where you can see which information. So the app ID URI, here it is. It's changed to this, and that's in the manuals that you use that. So the custom XML. So, and the same goes for the other one. That's the Mopria Discovery Service. So I will publish this this template. It's just copy and paste and replace it with the values you have that are particular for your environment. Go to your XenMobile cloud service. Log in with your account that can and is allowed to create services. So I have here one Windows 10 endpoint already enrolled. Let me see if I can find it. It's the latest one created. That's the test. Here it is. So here you see all the information there that I had in the custom XML. Distributed to the correct group. And that's basically on the side of Azure AD and XenMobile. Then you need to publish the printers, and the printers you need to publish from a Windows 10 endpoint. That's Azure AD joined, and that your Cloud Print service account has rights on. And you can do that with Azure Active Directory. So when your device is Azure Active Directory Azure Active Directory enrolled, you can then make sure that on the Devices tab, on the device settings, you can make sure that Azure AD joint machines have local administrators. So you see my service printing account there is local administrator. So go to your Windows 10 machine that's Azure AD enrolled, log in with that account, and then you need to install the hybrid Cloud Print PowerShell modules also. So let me see if I have screenshots from that. Yeah, I think it's here. Yeah, that's the publishing. No, I don't have it, but I have the commands here. So when you publishing the shared printer, so you have to run the find publish printer, install publish printer, and then you have to publish the cloud printer. So what you need to do there is make sure that you have this command string correct. And I have it here somewhere. So what you need to do is on the Windows 10 machine where the printer is installed, you have to run this command: get printer blah 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 blah, and then you get this result. This result plus where it is, it's in that string, plus this O.B needs to be added to the SDDL, and here is the publish printer command. So the manufacturer, the printer name is this, the manufacturer is this is the model, and then you can do country. So I put in the Netherlands, my lab, the site name. And why you need to do this is because you can find, the user can find your his printer where he is much easier later on in the configuration screen of Windows 10. So this is all very careful work. Here also you see you need to add the discovery endpoints again, your print server, endpoint, your Azure AD client ID, and that's the native app again, and your Azure tenant again. So when you run this command on your Windows 10 endpoint in PowerShell with elevated rights, with the printed service account that has printing rights, because this is published in that database that we created earlier on, and I will show you that. So you will run this command, then it will go publish the printer and gives you OK return. So when you go to the print server, and I downloaded a tool, hopefully it will not corrupt my database, but we will see. Database browser. So when I open a database, here it is, I go to browse data, you will see that the printer is now in that database. So when that's done, you know that your connection from your Windows 10 endpoint to the public internet through the Azure AD, through the Azure proxy, application proxy to your on-prem print server is working. So when that's done, you can go to your Windows 10, log off of your Windows 10 machine with the administrator, and every other user should be able now to retrieve, who has the policy from XenMobile and is Azure AD joined, should see the printers. I know it's a little bit of a long recording, but it's yeah, there is much things you need to do and need to configure. So when you go to your Windows 10 machine, my PIN, so you see that I'm logged in with my Azure AD account. Go to your settings, then the user will go to devices, it will say printers and scanners, and it will have this option here now. So I say search for cloud printers, and then I get this nice tab that I can select. So if you have multiple regions, multiple location, multiple storage or levels in your you can select that. So let's select here, and it will search for the printer, and hey, there is my test printer, and it has a nice cloud icon in it. So I say add device, it will add the printer, and let me see if we can. In the meantime, you see here the print server. The print server has the ECP print test print, and this will just do a plain PDF file to a directory on the C drive. So here's an old one. Let's delete it, and you see it's connected here. So my printer is connected. So let's go back to printers, and I will open the queue, and it opens the queue, and it said print properties, and I will do a test page, and then on this left side there should be a document now. Print test page, close, and there it is. There is a document there. That's really nice, right? So you can print there, and the document disappears from the queue. So one more time. Delete. I said printer, properties, print test page, and it should appear again. Send to printer. There it is. So that's it for now. Thank you, and let me know what you think and if you have any questions. Okay. See you next time.